Welcome, everybody, to the Stone Down Sports Podcast. My name is Matt. Really happy to be here with you on this Tuesday evening to talk about the week that was in the NFL. Before we jump into all of that, want to say a big thank you to all of our subscribers and listeners and people who join us in the chat. You're the reason we do this, and we really enjoy interacting with you. As always, I'm joined by the Nasty Boys, Kyle and Ramey. Ramey, Uncle Rico come back to town and made his presence felt.
That's a very nice way to say that, Matt. I heard a interesting analogy to Gardner Minshew earlier in the week, so I can't take credit for it, but he's a spare tire. Um, if you break down on the highway and you need to get where you're going, he's going to get you where you need to go. But if you got to drive around on that guy for a couple weeks, it's not going to be any good. So he got exposed a little bit. Jacksonville kind of crowded the box and knew that he didn't have really any downfield ability, and it wasn't a pretty game for the Colts. Colts defense actually played pretty well, considering they were on a short field the entire time. But yeah, not a good weekend for the Colts, and the news just continues to trickle in with AR sounding like he's going to have season-ending shoulder surgery. And then Grover Stewart today getting popped for PEDs, and he'll be out for 6 weeks. So, it's always interesting in Indianapolis, if anything. So, but on the bright side, your guys' Lions are looking really good, playing well. They went down and got a big victory. Kyle, I'm guessing you got to be excited about that.
Super duper excited. 5-1, tie for the best record with a bunch of other good teams. Dude, it's like they're turning the corner. The franchise is turning the corner. It feels different. Last year, that was a game they would have lost on the road if they played it at this time last season. And the way that Goff responded with Monty going out and they had no run game, he just kind of took over the game. It shows the versatility of that offense. I'm real excited to see what they can do in Baltimore this weekend.
Nice. Matt, I'm guessing you're also excited about the Lions.
As a matter of fact, I am. Kyle, you're right. Goff really put the team on his shoulders and carried them to the victory yesterday. Or I'm sorry, Tuesday. Over 300 yards. Sunday. Whatever. The hell day is it? Today's Tuesday. Yeah.
Today is Tuesday.
There you go.
At least last I checked. I would like to see, though, some more efficiency out of the run game. They're 7th in the league in rushing yards, but they're only 18th in yards per carry. And part of that has just been the revolving door that they've had there in the backfield with Monty hurt, and then Gibbs got hurt. And, it's hard to really get some momentum, but at the same time, with the way that line plays and with just how good they are at run blocking overall, you'd think the efficiency would be a little bit better. Craig Reynolds did his best. He didn't look as good as he did a couple weeks ago against the Panthers in mop-up duty. And look, Monty's going to be out for a while. He's going to miss some time. We get that. All right. Hopefully Gibbs comes back and can take over the lion's share of work in that backfield. Last time he did, he had, 17 for 80 or something like that. Good, not great. Craig Reynolds, just if they end up starting him, I would expect somewhere around half to 3/4 of the production that you would get from Monty.
I saw that they also picked up Mo Ibrahim today off of or out of free agency. I imagine just for depth and for the ability to have some backups in case Reynolds gets hurt. But that block Reynolds laid on Tampa to spring ARSB was pretty sweet.
Carlton Davis the third. That's who we got the block on. It was sweet.
I think Carlton Davis the fourth felt that block.
He probably did. We've hyped up Goff. I'm going to do a little more. I mean, if you don't have him in the top QB conversation this season, you're missing the bus. He's on pace for over 4,500 yards, over 30 touchdowns, and 9 picks. He's only thrown 3. He's first in PFF offensive grade for QBs, second behind Tua in passing grade. He's fifth in passing yards, fifth in completion percentage, number one in adjusted completion percentage. That's the percent of aim passes thrown on target. He's third in yards per attempt, fifth in pass yards per game. It's just sick.
You think with the Lions being such a feel-good story, and if he continues this, you think he'll be in the MVP conversation?
I think he should.
I think he should. I don't know that he will, just because it's Detroit and he's not really the big name. I mean, look at the season that Jalen Hurts had last year, and he didn't win.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. You need to take
but
that.
he spread the ball around to 10 different receivers yesterday, including 15 targets to ARSB. He caught 12 of them for 124 and a touch. That's somebody you want in your lineup. I'm so glad I have him in one team. I'm glad he's back. Very glad he's back. But really, the defense put the team on their back as well. They got real stingy, especially in the second half. Bucs only had 251 yards of total offense, and they just gave up a couple field goals. It was awesome, and they were wearing them ugly creamsicle. The Tampa Bay Bucs were wearing them ugly creamsicle. When they wore those uniforms in 76 to 96, they had the worst winning percentage of any franchise in U.S. major sports.
Even worse than the Lions, huh?
Yep. The Lions defense, the rush defense, held them to 46 yards rushing on 16 attempts. Just amazing. Mayfield was 19 of 37 for 206, and he threw that pick. That was a tip, but still pick either way. But
yeah, Lions defense showed up. Not that the Bucs had a potent offense by any means, but Baker Mayfield's had a pretty decent year so far. And
yeah, they're
they
kind of in the middle of the
points
pack
when they need to. Yeah, so they look good. The Lions look like a team that's very well rounded. Like they're in the years in the past, they've been good on offense or they've been good on defense, but it seems like all three phases they're solid in all three. And if one needs to be relied upon, they can do that.
They're pretty complete. I talked about the 49ers being complete, but the Lions, even with these injuries, they've still found ways to win, which old Lions teams would have not. They would have lost. I'd love to see this. I've been waiting to see this type of game from Goff when the production isn't there for some of the other stars on the team or they get injured. Can he go out and win the game? And with the defense, they did it.
Yeah. Monty's out for a few weeks.
It's a rib injury, so it's going to be a pain thing as well. And I'd say a couple weeks as well. The bye's what? Week 9?
Yep, week 9. They got 2 more weeks till the bye.
So he misses the next 2 games, gets an extra week with the bye. I think that's plenty of time.
To Baltimore and then home against the Raiders
on Monday night.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. J-Mo come back and caught a touchdown. It was nice to see. He caught 2 of his 3 targets and in his very limited time this year, he's getting targeted on 25% of his routes run. Granted, he's only got 24 routes run, but
you'll see that number start to overtake Marvin Jones and Khalif Raymond. And the way he adjusted on that touchdown catch where he was off to the right and then looked back and was able to adjust the opposite way and still hang on to that ball that's what we got him for.
Yeah. So Tampa only had 46 yards rushing. Lions run D continuing to show up. And really from a fantasy perspective on the Tampa side, really the only player worth a damn was Chris Godwin. He went 6 for 77. In Tampa, I don't think they envision their path to victory is Baker Mayfield throwing the ball so damn much. Not unlike, the Colts and Minshew, like we were talking about earlier. You don't want him throwing the ball 55 times a game.
No, you don't.
No.
If you would have told me before the game that he was going to throw 55 times, I would have turned the TV off because there's really no point in watching. That's not him. He's designed to be a game manager. Come in and throw accurate short to intermediate passes and let the run game dominate. And Jacksonville completely took the run game away, just like they did in week 1. Zach Moss had, I think, 6 catches. I need to pull it up here. Neither him or Taylor really had anything on the ground, and Zach Moss was more of a threat through the air. Pittman had a decent game. He went over 100 again. But other than that, it just those. I mean, the announcer was talking about how accurate Minshew was and how he never throws interceptions, and then he throws 3 interceptions. So,
like almost directly at defenders. Like if you if you were watching, I'm like, it was not good.
Yeah,
he lost a fumble too.
He sure did.
4 turnovers.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Jacksonville didn't do anything spectacular on offense. Lawrence was 20 for 30, 181 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and a pick. They only rushed for 85 yards as a team, but it was just a matter of the turnovers killing the Colts and giving the Jaguars a short field and allowing them to run up the score. ETN had a couple touchdowns, but he only had 55 yards rushing. So, I mean, not that they needed to. They did what they needed to win. They still scored 37 points. So, just disappointing that it wasn't a little bit more competitive. I didn't think they were going to go down there and win, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more balance out of the offense. I mean, Colts only rushed for 44 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty damn bad. That backfield is split too, and of course Moss got the touchdown and not JT. Talking about ETN though, that was his 4th game this season, over 75 scrimmage yards. He's got 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games. He's a top 5 running back on the season, and he leads the league in carries, surprisingly enough. I don't think that's going to continue in the long term just because he doesn't really have that kind of build where you'd expect him there. Calvin Ridley, it was only his 2nd game over 75 yards, despite getting 7 or more targets in 5 of 6 games this year. They are not getting what they were expecting. I know this year in draft season, I was really down on Ridley. He didn't really excel once Julio Jones was gone, who signed in Philly today for some reason. He'll go there and be irrelevant. But that offense there in Jacksonville, there's still some misses here and there.
Yeah, I agree. I know that Ridley had a career, not a career day, but a great day in week 1 against the Colts. And we kind of talked about Christian Kirk by the wayside. But since then, Christian Kirk's really established himself as the true number 1 on that team. He only had 49 yards on Sunday, but again, he had a touchdown, and he seems to be kind of the primary guy for Lawrence rather than Ridley.
Hold that thought there, Ramey. We got Bronson in the chat. How you doing, Bronson? Trade Geno and Stafford for Kittle. 2 QB and 2 tight end league. Oof. Other QBs are T-Law and Purdy. Tight ends are Musgrave and Logan Thomas. So you're rostering 4 QBs right now. Damn. I'd rather keep Stafford and trade Purdy away.
Well,
honestly,
he had a follow-up. Do I trade Stafford and Geno for Burrow? The owner has Burrow and Kittle.
Oof. Oh, wow. What do you think, Kyle?
These are trades that are getting sent to you, or you're trying to, put together a trade to send, I guess. I kind of agree with, I guess Purdy has a safer floor. Stafford has a higher ceiling. Yeah, I think what Matt said about Stafford, I agree with that. I'd try and lose Purdy and keep Stafford.
I think if you're going to trade Stafford and Geno, I'd rather trade him for Burrow than for Kittle. Kittle's going to have those games where you're like, oh my God, like 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys where he has 3 touchdowns, but then he's going to disappear for 6 weeks. He'll give you 4 for 40. Yeah. But I don't see the value unless you're just, I guess he has Musgrave and Logan Thomas as his tight ends, but that's tough at the 2 tight end league. Outside the top 3 or 4 tight ends in the league, it's not really a tight end league like it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
I mean, I don't think it ever was a tight end league. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they're just not many of them,
Yeah.
that are decent.
Yeah, Logan Thomas is getting a real nice target share there in Washington. I guess the good thing is, Bronson having two tight ends like that, you're not the only one in the league with that problem. But I don't think Kittle is consistent enough to give you that separation at the position that you're looking for. I would rather move Stafford and Geno for Burrow and count on a rebound in the second half because he is that elite QB that can give you separation at the position. And if you're not subscribed yet, give us a subscribe. We'd really appreciate it and love to have you back too.
Here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 Eastern.
And starting Sunday, we're going to be on at 11:30. A little bit of tinker time to help you with those last-minute lineup decisions. Thanks. I'm 1-5. Been there,
right,
brother. But that doesn't mean that you're out of it.
Right.
Keep hustling. Keep trying to improve your team. Worst case scenario, if you got some buddies on the league and you can knock their ass out the playoffs come the end of the season, that works too.
That feels good too.
It does.
Let's see. Colts and Jags. Are we good on that?
Yeah, I think we've talked enough about the Colts and Jags.
Sweet. Let's go 49ers and Browns. The weather was a little bit of a factor there. Cleveland won 19-17. 49ers had a chance to win it at the end, but San Francisco kicker Jake Moody missed a, I don't know, what was it, 40-yarder? 41-yard field goal. And they lost. Bummer. It's not good. The 49ers had scored at least 30 points their first 5 games, and it just did not go well with them. That defense in Cleveland under Jim Schwartz is ridiculous. They're giving up an average of 200.4 yards allowed per game. That's sick. No team has done that since the 1970 Minnesota Vikings, known as the Purple People Eaters. I found that stat today. I was just shocked. They did it in a 14-game season, so Cleveland's got their work cut out for them, but it's crazy. Let's see. What's Wade get? How long is it appropriate for someone to sit on a trade request from a good friend? I'd love to hear Matt's answer. Great. What this is about.
Shit. So I don't know, probably a week ago, Wade here sent over a trade request and we'd talked on the phone about it. And, I was tossing around the idea and then, I went up to Michigan for the weekend where I got to witness Kyle screw up sausage, gravy, and biscuits first fucking hand. And it kind of fell to the back of my mind. So how long is it appropriate for somebody to sit on a trade request? For as long as it takes me to come up with a decision. If you're unhappy with your weight, feel free to withdraw the request. If not, I will decision here at my earliest convenience.
Gee. I'm open for trades too, Wade. I got people I'll get rid of. Don't trade with Matt. We don't need to help him out. But yeah, the Cleveland Browns defense killing up the 49ers. Ugh. You know how we were talking about Purdy and Pickett and if he didn't have any weapon, what's he got there? I took a big rip before asking and couldn't resist. I'm fucking dying. But when the weapons went down for Purdy, CMC and Debo, couldn't really do much. He completed just 12 of 27 passes for 44%. He was leading the league at 72.1 coming in, and he just looked bad.
Imagine a decline in play, losing all pro level talent.
Yep. So, bummer. No more undefeated teams in the NFL.
No, there's not. And on the Cleveland side, Jerome Ford had a nice game. I was surprised Cleveland was able to run the ball as well as they did against the Niners there, and just the overall performance of the offense with not even their backup quarterback, their third string quarterback, PJ Walker in there. Amari Cooper had a nice game. He had an awesome catch along the sideline. Nobody else really did much. Kareem Hunt,
he had a touchdown.
he was solid. But as far as like in the passing game, there wasn't really a whole hell of a lot else going on aside from Amari Cooper. But you're not really going to expect a lot coming from PJ Walker going up against that defense.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't start $36 Amari Cooper in my dynasty league. So, and then he has a good game. Figure that out.
Don't you just love fantasy football?
I sure do. We were just talking about the last of the undefeateds. The Eagles are 5-1. They went down to the Jets at the Meadowlands. They won 20-14. Jets erased an 11-point deficit. 11-point deficit. This kind of felt like the Eagles have been kind of inconsistent all year while still winning. And this was a game where it fell apart for them. I thought the Eagles receivers would eat, the Eagles receivers would eat with both starting cornerbacks out for the Jets, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, and that did not happen.
No, it really didn't.
That defense, the people next guy up mentality there. Quincy Williams had, 12 total tackles, and the whole team as a team had 12 passes defensed. I thought that was pretty amazing as well. Ramey's back.
Welcome back, buddy.
Hurts was 28 of 45
Thanks.
for 280, a touchdown, but 3 interceptions. Not good for him at all. AJ Brown still had 9 targets, 7 receptions for 131 yards. Devontae Smith had 11 targets, but only turned that into 5 and 44. The Jets defense played well.
Yeah, they did. Zach Wilson played well enough for, the Jets to get the dub. I'm kind of curious what'll happen if, Rodgers is able to come back, say he's ready, week 17. He comes back with 2 weeks left in the regular season. The Jets are in playoff position. What are you going to do then? I mean, it would suck to just kind of send Zach Wilson back to the bench, knowing that he's a big part of the reason that you're there. But you've also got an inner circle Hall of Famer coming off a torn Achilles, wanting to get back on the field.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking about this earlier today. If they're good enough to get to the playoffs, do you want to mess up the vibe that Zach Wilson has and the rapport that he has with the receivers and the team by plugging in Aaron Rodgers with a week or 2 left in the season? Like, could you potentially mess up the chemistry enough by plugging him in last minute for a potential playoff run? Granted, he's leaps and bounds a better quarterback than Zach Wilson, but do you completely screw up the chemistry by plugging him in for a playoff run?
It's there's something to be said for the chemistry as well. I'm sorry, my mind just went completely blank. I had like this really awesome thought to share that was, witty and relevant, and just now it's gone, which really sucks. But we move on. Look, objectively, Aaron Rodgers is hold on, D's nuts. Lost Richardson, Purdy, or Watson. I'm going to pick up the guy who's playing and not hurt. I'll take Purdy. I think Watson just doesn't look right, and he hasn't really looked right all year. Looks like Debo, there's a good chance he'll be able to play on Sunday, and apparently with CMC, it's
Monday.
more of on Monday. It's more of a pain tolerance kind of thing as opposed to anything structural. So I think if both of those guys can play, they'll be out there. I'll take Purdy.
He's got another question. Trade Saquon and Goddard for Bijan, have Waller. I'll take this one. Yes, do it yesterday.
Agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
If you can get your hands on Bijan, that's going to improve your team greatly. Yeah. I don't even know what your team looks like, but it's going to improve your team greatly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good questions. These nuts. If you're not a subscriber, please do. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., 7 a.m. Could you imagine?
No.
Wow.
No.
It's too early.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Speaking
Great
of
question,
Bijan, he's one of 5 running backs to have at least 10 points in every game this season. Do you know who the other 4 are? Or in every game they played in, sorry.
At least 10 fantasy points.
At least 10 points in a PPR.
Thielen?
Running backs.
Oh, running backs.
ETN.
No.
CMC.
Yes.
And Mostert?
No.
Zach Moss.
No.
Oh.
All right. Well, this will go on forever. The other 4 are Kamara, CMC, Ken Walker, and Austin Eckler.
Kamara hasn't played in all 5 games. What are you talking about?
Every game he's played in.
Oh, I'm like, fuck, Kamara ain't fucking. That's 2 games. I don't count that one.
Doesn't matter what you count.
What the hell are we talking about? Oh, the Jets.
The Eagles and the Jets, yeah.
The yeah.
I bet people out there are panicking about Devonta Smith, but think back to last year. He did all his damage in the second half of the season.
Yeah, and he had 11 targets this week. He's getting the looks. It's just not coming down with all of them. They'll happen.
Yep. Just be patient.
Yeah. And I know no one thought the Jets were going to be 3-3 heading into their bye when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. That did not seem. I'm sure that did not seem possible. Thank God for Greg Zuerlein. Guy's been a field goal machine.
And that's a Super Bowl level defense too.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I
want to apologize for my absence. I had some kids at the door that had thrown a ball into my yard. I was looking for Chris Hansen somewhere before I went and got the ball.
Was it signed by Babe Ruth?
Thought it was a trick.
Right.
No, it was not signed by Babe Ruth.
Some woman, Babe Ruth.
It was a volleyball.
Oh.
I love that.
So I said it's mine, and I popped it.
Just take out a knife and stab it, throw it in a row.
You should have just opened the door and yelled, "Get off my lawn!" A game we thought was going to be kind of higher scoring was not. I believe Matt took the over, and it did not hit. Was Seahawks at the Bengals? Cincinnati
thanks for pointing that out.
17-13. Bengals covered the -3 at home. The Bengals defense was the story in the game. The Bengals had a tough time scoring. Burrow was still 24 of 35. He only had 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Jamar was 13 targets, 6 catches for 80 yards. They scored a couple touchdowns the first half and then kind of just punted the rest of the time and got McPherson was the only extra points the points they got in the second half. Zach Taylor even said it's better to win ugly than lose pretty, and I'm inclined to agree with that.
Yeah, Bengals are back to 500 and kind of looking like they've righted the ship with Burrow a little bit healthier, and you just got to win games. Just got to get back in the thick of things. That division doesn't look like it's going to be very easy to win. All the teams are 500 or better. It was a good win against a good Seahawks team coming east, playing in that 1 o'clock window. You always wonder about kind of a lethargic start for those teams, and that's kind of what happened there. Seattle came out and scored a quick touchdown in the first quarter, but other than that, they really didn't put up much offensively. Geno had, I guess he had 323 yards passing, but they really couldn't put it into the end zone.
No, they had 5 red zone possessions and came away with 10 points. Geno Smith has 1 game this season with 2 or more passing touchdowns. He's got as many games this year throwing for under 115 yards as he does for going over 300. Last season was a mirage with this guy. On the bright side, Ken Walker, hey, he's got a stranglehold on that backfield. He leads the NFL in rush attempts inside the 5 with 12. He's got 6 touchdowns on the season, and he's on pace to blow away his total of 9 from last year. For the Bengals, T. Higgins, don't know what the hell is going on with him. Obviously, he was hurt, but he's only got 2 receptions in each of the last 3 games that he's played. I think he might be a good buy low candidate If you're looking to bet on somebody to bounce back in the second half, Burrow's really continuing to struggle, but the running backs aren't really helping them out either. They're only averaging 3.5 yards a carry, and they've got one rush over 20 yards this season. But Chase has been a monster. He leads the league in routes run with 249. He's averaging 14 targets over the past couple games. He's out there doing his thing, but he can't throw himself the ball.
No. Seattle's defense was pretty good as well. Held them to 46 yards rushing. And Burrow couldn't. Yeah. I'm glad they're 300. I like the Bengals. I was a fan of them, I guess, last season. I like Burrow a lot. I like a lot of these young quarterbacks a lot.
Cat Bros.
Yep.
I think Seattle's set up for the future, though. It seems like they have everything but a quarterback, and I believe they have Denver's pick in the upcoming draft. So don't be shocked if they don't use theirs and Denver's pick to try to trade up. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this upcoming draft, so I look for them to draft a quarterback, and maybe Geno sticks around for another year. But as the season goes on, I see them kind of easing in that rookie quarterback, and then it'll be really fun to see what they can do.
Yeah, hopefully it's not J.J. McCarthy, because I don't want to root for anyone in Seattle just because Geno Smith and his continued suctitude has just completely robbed me of any joy in watching that franchise play a game. And, I assure you it has nothing to do with them having the Lions number the past couple of years.
Did you guys see, I was looking at the Saints and Texans box score. Did you see Taysom Hill had 8 targets, 7 receptions for 49 yards?
No, I did not.
I did not.
I don't like him.
I know you don't. He has tight end eligibility now, but soon could have wide receiver eligibility. He was tied for second on the team with 8 targets with Kamara and Michael Thomas. Something to keep your eye on going forward. Carr threw the ball 50 times. I expect to see that happen in the 40s a lot this year. And if he starts seeing some targets, something to think about. I'm not pushing it, but it's something to keep your eye on.
And Chris Olave is not really getting the results that I was looking for from him coming into the season. Far be it for me to really root for anyone from Ohio, but at the same time, he's somebody who has a boatload of talent. And I remember when we were previewing the NFC South, we were talking about Derek Carr and him being able to get the ball to Chris Olave and in positions for him to win. And it's not happening. Carr's distributing the ball around quite a bit, as evidenced by Taysom fucking Hill getting 8 targets, which is just ridiculous. Michael Thomas is a shell of his former self, and Rashid Shaheed has looked really good at times this year. But just I've got Olave in, I think it's in the podcast league, and he is just not showing up for me at all this year. I think he's another decent buy low candidate. Once Carr gets healthy, maybe he can turn things around, or at least I hope he will.
Yeah. I don't like the New Orleans offense. Their defense is out of this world, and I think that's a good win by the Texans. They're at 3-3 as well. But I know, Matt, you talked about how you didn't like Carr going there to begin the season, and I'm kind of moving to your side. It's just not a very dynamic offense. I feel like they could have done better than Carr, and maybe there's a long-term plan there to draft somebody, but they're stuck with him for at least a couple years because of that contract they gave him. So it seems like their ceiling is probably around a 500 ball club.
Yeah, and it's a shame they're going to waste that defense there, because that is a division that's just ripe for the taking.
Yeah.
That's, again, something we talked about earlier in the year. It wouldn't really be a shock if anyone won it, aside from Carolina. But the Texans, man, that turnaround is happening, I think, faster than anybody really expected. But it helps when you hit on, your what looks to be your franchise QB and then, you know, a defensive cornerstone. And people were mocking the Texans for making that trade to make it happen. But he who laughs last laughs best. You know, they might be laughing all the way to the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah. Stroud has looked competent, good, big time throws, getting the ball downfield, looking good. Olave had 10 targets yesterday, 7 receptions for 96 yards. I knew it. I thought he had a pretty good game yesterday.
On the whole, though, he's not really lived up to expectations.
Yeah, and when your quarterback throws 50 times and you're one of the top receivers on there, you better get 10 of those targets, 10 of those throws. So, real impressed with Houston. D'Amico Ryans seems like his guys believe in him. They got some things to work on.
That running game has not looked good. I think that's more on
120
Pierce, though.
Yeah, they had 120 on the ground as a team this week.
You're starting to see Devin Singletary kind of get more and more of a role there in that backfield and understand that there in Houston, they run the outside zone. It was brought with them from San Francisco. And if Dameon Pierce doesn't work in an outside zone scheme, they're not going to stop running it. They're going to put in somebody who does. You know, it's a scheme that's proven to work.
They were split down the middle, 13 touches each on Sunday. So,
yeah, and they're going into the bye feeling good.
They are. Yeah. Anything more on that guy?
No.
I only brought up Saints just because of the Taysom Hill thing. I didn't watch that game and I didn't see all of it on Red Zone, and I just thought that was pretty interesting. Monday Night Football. Hey, you got something, Ramey?
I was just going to ask, was it interesting to see Taysom Hill?
Yes, it was interesting.
It was not interesting.
Yeah.
It was boring to see.
But
he might be quarterback for the Broncos next year.
Yeah, no kidding. You never know.
Some shit.
Oh my God. But Cowboys went to LA to play the Chargers last night. They won 20-17. They're 4-2. Chargers dropped to 2-3. Prescott looked good, 21-30 for 272 and a touch, and he also had 40 on the ground and a rushing touchdown, which you don't see from him too much.
He was QB1 on the week.
Yeah. It was nice that the Cowboys got their butts whooped last week versus the 49ers, and they came out this week. The defense looked good. Based on some of Herbert's numbers, it was not good. His offensive grade was 62.5 last night. His big time throw rate, which was 2.2 last night versus 4 on the season average. His depth of target was down from 8.7 on the season down to 7.1 last night. And he had a total pressures on him. All pressures generated by the defense was 21. He was only sacked once, but he was still hit a lot as throwing. You could see it affected a lot of his throws. He missed Mike Evans uncharacteristically, 2 or 3 times, I think, when I was watching last night.
His whole career.
Mike, Keenan Allen. I don't know why I said Mike Evans. Sorry. Wrong big guy. I think, Keenan Allen's 6'2". But it really affected his throws a lot. That defense is still really good in Dallas.
Yeah, it is. The thing I noticed, not just last night's game, but over the course of this season, maybe even last season, Justin Herbert looks like a quarterback that doesn't get better as the game goes on. When you get down into crunch time, he seems to start making more mistakes. And granted, the pass rush was relentless with Parsons and the Cowboys defense there, but it just seems like in crunch time, like the play to Keenan Allen or Mike Evans, depending on who you're asking, he was wide open. I mean, it would have been an easy touchdown, probably would have changed the course of that game. And Herbert missed him by 3 or 4 yards. So that's just not acceptable when you're the highest paid player in the league, or I guess second highest now that they restructured Mahomes. But they paid him to be the guy, and he's not being the guy when it comes down to crunch time. And Staley makes a lot of mistakes, so I'm not throwing it all on Herbert. but he's not completely exempt from being part of the problem either. He's got Kellen Moore, so you've got the coach there to coach offensively. He's just not making the big time plays and the big time moments yet. I mean, he could turn it around and could be singing a completely different tune later this season, but he's been not been able to pick up the mistakes that the Chargers have made otherwise, mostly by the coaching staff.
Yeah, granted, we're only a few years into his career, but I almost kind of fear it's going to be a career of unrealized potential from a team perspective, just like his predecessor there in Phil Rivers. He's an elite thrower of the ball. He's athletic. He'll get you some yardage on the ground. And we also have to remember we're 5 games into him with a new offensive coordinator in a new system. They lost a very key member of their wide receiver core. Quentin Johnston, though, has just been a non-factor since Mike Williams went out. It's, Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen, that like 8-foot tall tight end in the red zone. Yeah. And
Donald Parham's the tall one.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yep. Yeah. Gerald Everett's more like between the 20s there. They've got Austin Eckler as well, who gets, just an incredible usage rate there. The defense is filled with individual talent there. And, up until last night, you would expect a team coached by, what was at least up until a couple of years ago considered to be a pretty damn good defensive mind, and Brandon Staley, they've not been great. Austin Eckler, his first game back from injury, had a pretty pedestrian performance. Keenan Allen continues to put balls on chins. I think by the end of the year, things will get a bit better. Josh Palmer's no slouch. He's not Mike Williams, but he's not a scrub either. Just I don't know. I go back to the unrealized potential thought, and I think that's going to be a consistent year-to-year thing where maybe they contend for the playoffs. They're right there every year, but they're not really a serious contender. And they got a big test this week going to KC or next week.
Yeah. And that's the thing that Herbert's going to have to deal with for most, if not all, of his career. He's going to have Patrick Mahomes in his division. The Chiefs aren't going anywhere. So it's unlikely that you're going to be able to win the division year in and year out. So they're consistently going to be looking at wild card berths. So going on the road in the playoffs, if they get to the playoffs. So it's really weird how it seems to kind of be history repeating itself with the Chargers, with Rivers and Tomlinson, and they had all the weapons and everything, and they just couldn't seem to close the deal when it came down to it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the Dolphins and Panthers, because that was kind of an interesting game. The Panthers jumped out to a 14-point lead, and then the Dolphins come back, and I know there were some people with some wagers on the game with that line sitting at 14.5. They were sweating that one. But that Dolphins team is just something else. Mostert and Achane both on pace for 1,000 yards. Something I thought that was interesting, the Dolphins run 21 personnel, meaning 2 running backs, 1 tight end, a league-leading 46% of the time. The second most is the 49ers at 41%. And where did Mike McDaniel come from?
Wow, Matt.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I made that connection.
Tied it all together.
Yep. It was the highest scoring game of the week at 63 points. Excuse me. Tua's on pace for 5,300 yards and 40 touchdowns. Tyreek, this is his 4th game this season, over 150 yards and a touchdown. The dude is on pace for 2,300 yards. That's just ridiculous. He come out beginning of the season talking about, I want to get 2,000 yards, and this motherfucker's out there actually trying to do it. It's just nuts what he's doing. And hats off to Mostert. He's doing a hell of a job this year. He was the RB1 on the week. The big thing with him is health. Up until the point where Achane got hurt, he was really only averaging 11 carries per game. I don't remember what he got yesterday, but he's not somebody.
17.
Yeah, he's not somebody you want carrying 23, 24 times a game. That's not sustainable for him.
Yeah, he went 17 for 115 and 2 touchdowns. So would have been a good daily fantasy pickup for somebody.
Yeah.
That Dolphins offense is just ridiculous, and it doesn't seem like anybody's slowing it down anytime soon outside of Buffalo. So the Panthers are the Panthers. I saw where Frank Reich has given up play calling responsibilities to his offensive coordinator. So we'll see if that makes any difference when it comes to being able to score points. But that Panthers team, man, I think we've talked about it already the past couple of weeks. They could have made a lot of different decisions to be in a lot better spot than they are right now. Bryce Young doesn't look comfortable, doesn't look like he's picking up the offense very well. They don't have their first round pick next year. Don't have a lot of weapons.
Even though Adam Thielen has looked very good fantasy-wise there.
He has looked good fantasy-wise. He had 115 yards. He had 11 grabs and a touchdown on Sunday. That was his best game of the year. But if you're relying on Adam Thielen to be your wide receiver number one, that's not very good for the coming years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel bad for Panthers fans because you kind of gave up the farm to tank a little bit last year, and even to his credit, Steve Wilkes kept that team fighting, and then they booted him for Frank Reich, and it seems like that they just have made all of the wrong decisions.
Yeah. Only 3 receivers have 40 receptions, 500 plus yards, or 4 plus receiving touchdowns. Tyreek Hill's one, Stephon Diggs is the other, and Adam Thielen is the third. So he's just been killing it in fantasy, but I think it's a lot of garbage time production. They should have picked Stroud. There's rumors out there that the owner wanted Bryce Young, but Frank Reich, coaching staff, wanted CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Can't do shit about it now.
Or there was that clip. There was that clip at the Ohio State Pro Day where the GM said something to Stroud like, "We're going to get you," or something like that, or talked about playing basketball down in Charlotte, something to that effect. So who knows if there's truth to that rumor, but if you've got your owner, I mean, that's the problem with some of these owners, and I can relate a little bit. They've been very well. A lot of these owners have been very good in the business world at making their money. Some of them were just born into it. But they think that they can come into a football situation and be as successful making these decisions. And it feels like some of the best owners are the ones that hire the guys that know what they're talking about and let them do their job.
Yeah. Coming into the season, I thought there was a pretty good chance that Hayden Hurst was going to be that security blanket for Bryce Young. It actually ended up being Adam Thielen. The guy leads all wide receivers in 3rd and 4th down receptions with 22. He's 2nd in the league in routes run. He's having a little career renaissance down there in Charlotte. But hats off to him. He's exceeding my expectations. Miles Sanders was out. Quite frankly, he's looked like shit all season long, so they weren't really missing much. And Chuba Hubbard has been the better back this year. He's been more efficient on a per-touch basis, but they just ponied up all that cash for Miles Sanders because reasons. I don't know why, and I'm sure they're struggling to recall why they made that decision as well.
Yes, sir. Week 7 waiver wire targets.
All right.
What we got here?
I bet we all have one of the same ones.
Oh, I'm sure we do. Hold on, I'm trying to get stuff on the screen here. It's going wrong. Several noteworthy injuries. There's 6 teams on bye, so I expect some rosters are going to need some help. Of course, some news came out about CMC might actually play, Debo might actually play, Trent Williams might actually play, because of course I think we all had Elijah Mitchell and or Jordan Mason on our list to put a claim in, and maybe I'd still put a claim in and just see what happens on Monday.
So if you had to choose one, you're guaranteed to get one. Who would you take?
I'd do Mitchell just based on some of Shanahan's comments on Monday.
Yeah, I'd take Mitchell as well. But sucks that they play Monday night, because if you don't get him, then you kind of have to. I mean, you have to make a decision on Sunday of what you're going to do. And if CMC ends up playing on Monday night, then you're kind of screwing yourself out of a potential really big producer.
I think Elijah Mitchell is the right call based on what he's done for the team over the past couple of years. And you're right, Kyle. Shanahan come out and made some comments speaking to that. Jordan Mason has just looked so much more explosive than him, though. He's looked like the better back, and Elijah Mitchell, quite frankly, is somebody
he's been hurt. He's just getting ramped up. He's just been hurt.
Right, yeah, but he's seemingly always hurt. So
he played. Yep. We'll see it. I mean, it is a call that you're going to have to make, and I lean towards Mitchell, but it might not matter at all because CMC might play. So,
no, that's true.
I have Elijah Mitchell in one league. I think I might have drafted him, and he's just sitting there on my bench, just waiting for the time period that CMC is out for a few games.
Just biding his time.
Biding his time.
Zach Evans.
Zach Evans. Yep, that's good because Kyron Williams is hurt. Ronnie Rivers is out with a PCL for I think a few weeks, so that would be also a good one to grab. He's 5'11", 202, rookie from I think Ole Miss. I think it's Ole Miss. Yeah. See, man, that's a good one. And then probably Craig Reynolds too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Monty's going to be out. And Gibbs is trending to come back this week, but I think we'll still need somebody a little tougher up to run up the middle than Gibbs. I'm not calling Gibbs weak in any way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, for being a small guy though, Gibbs is a powerful runner. I think if Gibbs is back, he will lead that backfield, but I think Reynolds, look, he's got a chance to fall in the end zone. Josh Downs, another waiver wire target. He's only owned in 33% of Yahoo leagues. He's got just under a 20% target share in that offense. Sunday's results aside, I think Gardner Minshew is a better passer than Anthony Richardson, so I give a little uptick to the receivers there. Pittman and Downs. Downs, he gets the targets. They're close to the line of scrimmage, but they do they work on getting him the ball in space so he can actually get the ball and do something with it. And for his size, he's pretty damn good at contested catches as well.
Yeah. The only problem is they play the Browns this week, so you might want to pick him up and stash him for a week or so.
Garbage time exists.
Yeah,
garbage time exists, and nothing wrong with looking ahead at your schedule, like Ramey said. He's a good stash.
One I think would be good is Rashee Rice for Kansas City. He's started to come on in that offense, and I think he's still available in 45% of the leagues. I'm sorry, he's only been taken in 45% of the leagues. I can't do math. Thursday night he played really well. He had 72 yards. He had some good yards after the catch, and going to play the Chargers this coming week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That Chargers defense is not really stopping anybody, so might be worth a pickup if you're looking for a receiver.
Yeah, he's struggled with drops, but
he has. What happened with Bosa in San Diego? Oh my God, his rush grade is like 62 this year so far. He has just dropped off the face of the earth.
Every time they show him, he's just standing on the sideline, just staring off into the distance.
I'll throw Kareem Hunt out there. He's available, or he's only rostered 37% of Yahoo leagues. He had 15 total touches this week. Jerome Ford still was leading the backfield with 19 total touches. So, watch that a little bit. That might even up, but it probably was a lot of PJ Walker starting and the Browns needing to rely on their running backs more. Might be why he got more touches, but
Well,
he did score a touchdown.
They're going to Indy this week, and Grover Stewart's out with his PED, so their line's going to be a little depleted. So you might, if you're looking for a running back, he might be worth picking up.
Yep, depending on who you lost this week due to injuries or who you got on bye.
Yeah.
I got one league in Dynasty, actually, including defensive players. I think I have 6 people on bye. It's
rough.
It's ugly, but I'll manage. If anybody out there got any waiver wire questions or any fantasy football questions at all, trades or starts and sits for the upcoming week, just let us know. Is that all we got for waiver?
Yeah, I think so. One thing to remember when talking about waivers and your pickups here, especially for those guys that in theory are just going to be a 1 or 2 week rental, don't overpay for them in Fab. If it's, it's a different story, somebody like Jerome Ford, my bid notwithstanding, where you're getting them for the rest of the year. But for somebody it's just, maybe a week like Craig Reynolds, don't go below 20-30% of your Fab on that.
Right. We always talk about our podcast listener league, our fantasy league on Yahoo. We got our new updated standings this morning. AJ, Drew's Dumpster Fire tied for first there at 5-1. I'm in third, fellas. Where are you guys at? And we got Ray's Piss Jug, Matt down there at 500, and Ramey at 2-4, who's coming around. And you're scoring some points. You're getting scored on a lot too, though.
I just can't stop anybody.
No. But still
we
early.
Both scored more than Kyle, like 100 points more.
Mm-hmm.
That's
or no, I was looking at the wrong.
No, you're looking at the wrong thing. I'm 814
points against.
Yeah. So looking good. 4-2. It's too bad. What do we got? A comment?
Player.
Who is that? Kip or Buff?
That's Buff.
Thanks, Buff.
Buffalo Sway, person who
Appreciate
provides
that.
our podcast intro and outro music.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate you, brother.
Stuff. It's a nice little tune. I like it. But yeah, so we're covering that. So far, so good. Everybody still has a chance. We're all in it.
It's a competitive league.
Yep. We're all in it. Well, somewhere over Dwayne Bowe. I play him this week, and I'm going to win.
You hope.
The guy can't.
If you don't.
Because he can't start anybody. I got a problem if I lose to a guy
57-30. Okay, we'll remember that clip for next week in case you don't win.
Yeah, no shit. That guy beat me with 3 guys out or something. Who knows? And then we got a little something new. Matt mentioned it a little earlier about Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
I stumbled upon a quote here. Former Steeler head coach Chuck Noll once said, "Pressure is something you feel when you don't know what you are doing." So we are coming up with this Sunday morning show at 11:30. If you're feeling pressure in your league and you need some help, join us live every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel for a little show we're calling Tinker Time. Everybody tries tinkering with their lineup, or maybe you shouldn't sometimes. But we're going to be here to help you with your last minute questions, lineups, trades, and more. Whatever you got a question about. 11:30 until, if we go to 1, we go to 1. I'd say at least an hour would be on there. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, we'll be on there for as long as you guys need us to be.
Yeah. So, join us 11:30 a.m. I don't know who will be on there, but some of us will be on there.
Some or all.
Yeah.
Some
at least
all.
One though.
Oh, Ramey's missing because he is going to the Colts home game, which I can't knock you for that. If I could go to the Lions home game, I would miss it as well.
Yeah, it's in Indy.
Yeah, it's in Indy. Yeah. No, I'm traveling to Cleveland. That's a boring drive if you had to drive across Ohio. Oh my goodness.
Yes, it is.
You know when you awake in the morning that you are not even going to have the tiniest of pleasures that day because you are going to have to drive across Ohio. Ugly. Anything else, fellas?
No,
Good on
Good.
my end. Why don't you take us home, Kyle?
Sweet. We're finishing up tonight. We'll be back Thursday here in about 47 hours, 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel for our Week 7 preview. We'll have our aces and deuces, our version of our starts and sits, and we'll also have our sports betting locks of the week. We'll review how we did last week as well because we ran out of time tonight.
It's not really necessary.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do that.
I would have talked about the DFS too, which Ramey is just again kicking our butts in. He's run 4 in a row.
Don't need to talk
After
about that
starting-
either. Just
Hey,
After starting 0-2, so
When you
he's
start
never-
messing with my money, I get
he
focused.
he never did DFS before this year in football, at least, and he's just
It's easy.
kicking our butt. So yeah. That's easy.
I don't know.
Your
that makes
aces
us
and
look
deuces and-
stupid. So
Your aces and deuces and locks, you're not doing so well in, but
Yeah, that's
I'll throw
fine.
that up on the socials and stuff later this week as well. So excellent. Well, thanks for watching, folks. A lot of good questions tonight. If you're not a subscriber, please do. Have a great night. We'll see you Thursday. Thanks a lot.
see ya. End stream.